Everyone, this is Indrajit Ganguly and welcome to your history class. Dear students, today I will discuss with you the very important topic, that is Sufism in India. I hope you remember that in my last class I have discussed with you that in 13th century the Delhi Sultanate established in India, and many Muslim dynasties like Slaves, Khaljis, Tughlaqs, Lodhis, they established their kingdom in India, right? Delhi Sultanate ended in 1526 by the first battle of Panipat, and therefore Mughal took over the charge of India, and the Mughal rule continued till 1857. So we can say that basically the northern part of India, Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, these huge part of India which were earlier ruled by the Rajputs, they were now became the control of the Delhi Sultans and Mughals. So obviously the Bhakti movement could not get momentum in the northern part of India. So in this situation, just for the establishment of the Muslim rule in India, the Sufism, the Sufi movement get momentum, and gradually these become very popular. Now the question arises, what is Sufism and what is Sufi movement, and what are the basic idea and principles of the Sufi movement? Okay, let me tell you a very important thing before going to the discussion of the Sufi movement. Sufi movement did not have any dissimilarities with Bhakti movement. Okay, the both Sufi movement and Bhakti movement, they are similar in nature. Bhakti movement basically challenged the orthodox Hinduism and Hindu rules and customs, and Sufi movement is basically a mystical movement which was challenged the orthodox Islam. So basically there was no difference with it within, and there are similarities in the Sufi movement and Bhakti movement. Remember students, the word Sufism derived from the word Suf, which means ul. It is an Arabic word and that means ul. Why? Why that they use that word Suf? Because Sufi saints, they wore woolen garments because of their poverty. That's why they got the name Sufi, or that is called Sufism. Okay, now the definition of Sufism can be, it is a mystical movement against the orthodox practice in Islam, and their main aim to adhere the direct perceptions of mankind to God without any mediator. Obviously, first of all, it is an mystical movement, it is a reformation movement of Islam, and the Sufis believe that, the Sufi saints believe that whenever we are going to devote it or worship the God, no mediator or no customs or practices are generally required. Only passionate devotions and thinking about God and love towards God is required for the devotion. So that is the basic thing and basic concept of Sufism. I am repeating once again, that is passionate devotion of God and love for the God. It is only required for the worship of the God, and that is the basic aim and basic criteria for the Sufism. Okay, next one. The Sufi saints began to organize communities around hospice or khanka. Remember students, khanka is a place where Sufi saints basically organize their community, and they basically control the Sufi saints. I'm sorry. Sufi saints basically control the khanka, that is hospices. And remember students, the Sufi saints are basically known as sheikh or murshids, okay, or peer, and they enrolled the disciples. The disciples are generally known as murids. So don't get confused about murshid and murids. Basically Sufi saints who control the khanka or hospices, they generally known as murshids, and the disciples of the Sufi saints, they basically known as murids. Okay, and these Sufi saints appointed their successor, and these successor is generally known as Khalifa. Remember students, the meaning of Khalifa is deputy. Okay, I hope you remember that from last year, that is class 11, that is Central Islamic Land, that is after the death of Hazrat Muhammad, the Khalifa tradition started, because Hazrat Muhammad, he is the founder of the Islam religion, and after that the tradition, the Khalifa tradition was started, and there are 4 Khalifas. So just like these Islamic traditions, the Sufi saints, they appointed the Khalifa or their successor. Next, the shrine of the Sufi saint, that means the Khanka of the Sufi saint, became the center of devotion. Remember students, the shrine of the Sufi saint became the important place of the pilgrimage of the devotees, and that place is known as ziyarat in Arabic. I am repeating once again, it is very important for 1 mark question. The shrine of Sufi saint, that means the Khanka of the Sufi saint, after the death of the Sufi saint, it became the important center of pilgrimage, that is known as ziyarat. Okay, gradually the Sufism in India developed into different groups or different orders, and that order is generally known as Sufi Silsila. Sufism divided into different orders around the world, and these group or this order is basically known as Sufi Silsila. The word Silsila means chain. Okay, so in India there are 4 Sufi Silsilas are there. Number 1 Chishti, number 2 Suravardi, number 3 Naqshbandi, number 4 Qadiri. Remember, it is not in your syllabus, not important. In India, Chishti Sufi Silsila became very important, became very popular. Chishti Sufi Silsila was popularized by, and it was introduced by Khwaja Mainuddin Chishti, and he had a shrine in Ajmer in Rajasthan. Those people belong to the Islam religion. I hope they were aware of the place, that is Ajmer. The place is generally known as Ajmer Sharif, and this is the shrine of Khwaja Mainuddin Chishti. So, and that Khanka, that shrine is become very popular, and later in my next topic I will discuss about in detail about the Chishti Sufi Silsila group in the subcontinent. Okay, remember students, as we all know that the Sufi saints, they basically challenge the conservative Islam, and they basically challenge the Islamic laws and practices, right? So by this, Sufi groups are divided the Sufis divided into 2 groups. One group is known as Besariya, another group is known as Basariya. Those Sufis supported the Shariat laws. Shariat means Islamic law. The Muslims, they had to follow rules and regulations and customs. These are included in Shariat, that is Muslim Shariat, that is known as Sharia. Those Sufis followed the Islamic laws, codes of conduct. These groups are known as Basariya, and those groups who did not follow the Islamic laws and regulations, these groups basically known as Besariya. Okay, these are very important for 1 mark question. Okay, now students, our next topic, that is topic number 7 from NCERT, that is Chistis in the subcontinent. I have told you that there are various Sufi groups and orders in the Indian subcontinent and around the world, but the Chisti Sufi groups, they become very popular, and I hope you remember that I have already told you that the Chisti Sufi Silsila or Chisti Sufi groups formed by Khwaja Mainuddin Chishti, and his dargah is basically situated in Ajmer, Rajasthan. Okay, so I will tell you about the story of how was the social life in this Chisti Sufi dargah or Chisti Sufi Khanka. Remember students, the Khanka was the center of social life. A well-known example is the Sheikh Nizamuddin's hospice. Remember students, Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia was another very important Chisti Sufi saint from India. So his Khanka was situated on the banks of river Yamuna in Ghiaspur, and it is on the outskirts of city Delhi. So when you visit Delhi, you can visit the dargah of Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia. The people believe that the Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia was, he can fulfill the desires of all people. So Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia was not worshipped by the Muslim people. He was also worshipped by the non-Muslim people. Because of his miraculous power, he was very popular in Delhi and around the subcontinent. Okay, so basically in the dargah of the particular Sufi saints, The sheikh, there was several rooms are there, and the sheikh lived in a small room on the roof of the hall where he made the visitors in the morning and evening. Obviously, the dargah is a place where visitors from different social groups, it can be the Muslims, non-Muslims, artisans, cultivators, weavers, anyone. They can come and meet the sheikhs and take their blessings. On one occasion, fearing a Mughal invasion, people from the neighboring areas flocked into the Khanqa to seek refuge. And remember students, there in the Khanqas, there was an open kitchen that is known as langar, and it was run on futu. Futu means unasked charity. So basically in that Khanqa, there was an open kitchen, and the people can come to seek their blessing, and they can eat in these kitchen. So it was become an important center of the social lives. I hope you know that later on, the same concept was adopted by Baba Guru Nanak in the Golden Temple. I hope you know about Golden Temple. There was a biggest kitchen in the world is there in the Golden Temple. The same concept was generally adopted by Baba Guru Nanak in the Golden Temple. That is the open langar, open kitchen where any group of people, they can sit together and eat together. And that concept is generally evolved the concept of secularism. And secularism is the basis of Indian prosperity and India's unity. Okay, next, that is a very important customs and function that was adopted in the Sufi Khanqas, that is ziyarat, that I have already told you that basically the shrine and the tombs of Sufi saints became the important centers of the pilgrimage. So gradually, so that ziyarat festivals is generally going on. There are most revered shrine of the Sufi saint is Khwaja Mainuddin of 14th century, and he popularly known as Garib Nawaza, which means comforter of the poor. And it was evidently popular because of the austerity and pity of its sheikh, the greatness of his spiritual successors, and the patronage of royal visitors. Gradually, the Khwaja Mainuddin Chisti's Khanqa became very popular. There is an instance in your book, that is Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He often visited the shrine of Khwaja Mainuddin Chisti, and he took the blessings of Khwaja Mainuddin Chisti. And you will be surprised to know that Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, he also visited the shrine of Khwaja Mainuddin Chisti, and he gifted a big cauldron for the devotees, for the cookings of the devotees, and to run these langar systems. So for the royal patronage and for the donations of the sultans, the Khanqas became very popular, and it became a place of the gatherings of the visitors and gatherings of the devotees. Next, another important festival that is called Qawwali. Remember students, that there is a similarity between Bhakti movement and Sufi movement is that basically Bhakti movement, the poets composed poetries, songs for the devotion of God, right? Basically they use bhajan and kirtan. Sufism, they basically use Qawwalis. Qawwalis means both mixture of singing and dancing. I hope you heard some of the Sufi songs like Damadam Mast Kalandar Ali da Pehla Number, and there is a famous song that Bhardo Jholi Meri Ye Muhammad Tere Dar Se Hum Khali Nahi Jayenge. So these kinds of songs generally performed in these Sufi shrine, and these songs usually used in the devotion of God. I think you know, I think you could understand that the Sufism basically challenged the Islamic practices. They rejected the practices like Hajj, 5 times namaz, fastings, though they did not encourage these practices. They believed that only the passionate devotion to the gods and singing and dancing can be used for the worshipping of God. That simple concept. Okay, next. There is a poetry became also used in the Sufi Khanqas for the devotion of God. There is a famous poetry that is written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi, that is Padmavat. I hope you are familiar with these famous poetry, Padmavat. The love story between Ratan Singh of Chittor and Rani Padmini. There is a famous love story between Padmini and Ratan Singh, and Padmini was very beautiful, and I hope you know that Alauddin Khalji, she became mad when he heard the name of Rani Padmini. And when Alauddin Khalji decided to attack Chittor, Rani Padmini and all the Rajput princes, they jumped into the fire and they took the custom, Johar. So these kinds of poetry are also performed in the Sufi Qawwalis, because just for the devotion to the god. So these are the ways of functions. Next topic, that is relationship with states. I have already told you, without the royal patronage and without the donations of the sultans, the Sufi movement and Bhakti movement could not get momentum and could not become popular. I hope you know that Alvars and Nayanas become popular in South India because they get enough donation from the Chola rulers, right? So the Sufi saints, they also get enough donations from the from the Delhi sultans. That's why they become popular. Without their patronage and without their donation, it could not be possible. So sometimes, and why they do so? Because the Delhi sultanates, the rulers of Delhi sultanate and also the Mughal Badshah, they need some blessings from the Sufi saints to legitimate their power, to consolidate their powers. So that's why they usually visit in the Sufi saint. There is a very interesting story, let me share you with it. When you visit Fatehpur Sikri in Agra, there is a famous dargah of Sheikh Salim Chishti. And there is a story that Akbar usually visited the dargah of Sheikh Salim in Fatehpur because Akbar wanted a child, a son for the next successor in the Mughal throne, but he did not get any son. So Akbar took the blessing from Sheikh Salim, and Akbar got a child, and he gave the name of his son, that is Salim. Later on, Salim became Jahangir. So in this way, the stories of the miraculous power of the Sufi saints become popular. But sometimes there are also sometimes the relationship between Sufi saints and the rulers are not so become close. So there are instances of clash with the Sufi saints. In your book, there is a story that please go through it. It is very important for 8 marks question, that the Sufi sect also perform some rituals like prostration. That means suppose when a visitor came to see a Sufi saint, they have to prostrate. That means they have to lie down and take the blessings of the Sufi saint. That same customs had to be followed in the court of the Badshah, and they have to kissing the feet of the Sufi saint. So the Badshah also doing the same customs. So there is a clash between the Sufi saints and the Badshah. And some of the Sheikh Nizamuddin Auliya, he took a high sounding titles like Sultan ul Mashaikh. I am repeating once again, Sultan ul Mashaikh, which means Sultan amongst sheikhs. So in this way, Sultan believed that now the Sufi saint could not obey us. Okay, so they challenge our authority. So sometimes there is a clash relationship. Okay, this is it for today. In my next class, I will discuss with you another two important topic, Baba Guru Nanak and Kabir. Thank you and have a nice day.